Hi, this is Keith Williams here with a couple of exercises to build dynamics. So dynamics is it's one of the most exciting parts about playing cello. We can play very softly, and we can also play very dramatically, get very majestic tones. I guess our dynamic range is really kind of similar to that of the piano in the sense that we can stand up, cello can stand up against an entire orchestra, or it can play very beautiful, supportive sort of music or meditative, soft music. How do we start building dynamics? Okay, so there are four things that come to mind. There are three easy ones that a beginner cellist can start working on really almost from the very first few lessons. The basic point to remember is that you have many ways of controlling dynamics, and so it makes sense to try to work on those independently and master them independently before trying to put all of it together. And so I propose a couple of really easy exercises here. Now, all I'm going to do, you don't have to worry about playing in key or anything like that, because I'm just going to play open strings, that's it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to build a dynamic pattern like this. In other words, starting from piano and then growing, blooming a note would be the term that I use for it, blooming the note out to forte and then back to piano. And I'm going to do that in a couple different ways. The first way that I'll do it is just with bow pressure, nothing but bow pressure. So the objective here is to keep a relatively loose wrist, at least at the outset, and try to use as much of the wrist to control the bow pressure as possible. You'll sometimes hear people saying use your arm or whatever. That's all well and good, but for really fine motion, you probably want to start adopting some wrist use. So anyway, let's just do this. Now what I'm going to do, please notice that I'm going to keep, I'll just play, let's see, I'll play the open G string, this string right here. And I'm going to do is I'm going to place the bow right midway between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge, and I'm going to try to keep it in that lane, and I'm just going to pull the bow across there. So the objective here is to keep the bow moving perpendicular to the string without any motion towards the bridge or the fingerboard. And all I'm going to do is just, of course, pull it, and that's a flat dynamic right there. In that case, what I did was I tried to keep the note equally loud all the way across the bow. That's a good exercise in itself. Probably something you should do right off the bat, first week of playing. The next thing to do is to try to bloom the note. So let's try that. By the amplitude of the string that I'm able to bloom it just with bow pressure alone. A couple of things that you may have noticed. You want to keep the knuckles really nice and loose, open joints like that, so that you can actually control the pressure on the bow through your fingers as well. You don't want to just be grinding into the string with the full weight of your arm. You want to be able to actually kind of control that. So so now I'm going to try to bloom it. Let me just do that again. Okay, the next method for blooming a note is to start using the lanes in between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge. The technical term for this is you go towards the bridge is sul ponticello. This is the ponticello, and this is your tasto. Tasto is like your fingers, like like a fingerboard. Okay, so as we play towards the bridge, we can bloom the note as well. And in fact, it's very much more pronounced blooming than you just heard. So let's see how that works. So that's another way to control the dynamics. Notice the reason why I would work on this method next is because there's a complication. As you get closer and closer to the bridge, you'll need to move the bow more slowly, and that is for beginners is a little bit difficult to come up with that. But basically, let me just show you what happens if I play next to the bridge with the same speed as up here by the fingerboard. So I'm going to play a fast note here. I'm going to play the exact same thing down by the bridge. Sounds electronic, right? So what you got to do is you get down towards the bridge. You may start fast like this. Let's start fast at the tip and sul tasto, and then I'm going to move ponticello. Sul ponticello, I'm going to move down to the, and watch how you do that. Play right on the bridge, but you have to play really slowly and with lots of even, steady pressure. Otherwise, you'll get these skips and so forth. Another way to control dynamics, of course, is bow speed. And we can do that quite simply. And again, I want to try to work on one thing at a time. So I'm going to keep the bow in the center lane, so to speak, between the bridge and the fingerboard. And I'm just going to vary my bow speed. That's another way to bloom a note in order to make it grow. I think we almost never want a note to sound exactly the same all the way through the entire attack and release. We want it to kind of grow out and really have some interesting dynamic features. A fourth method for blooming a note, which I would put in a, I guess, more advanced category because you really need to master the first three first, is to use vibrato. And here I am playing an open string, so this is not going to work particularly well. You can play vibrato on an open string, actually. What you do, there's two ways to do it. There's one official way to do it and then a not so official way to do it. One is to just play an octave higher on the next string and then give that some vibrato, like this. That works. Another thing that I sometimes do that people don't seem to like the look of very much, but it works, is this. Okay, so let's put all those things together. Now let's suppose you have a really soft entry note and you want it to get, I don't know, let's say pianissimo and we're going for 3 Fs or something. And we want to really grow that note and make it super dramatic and then collapse back down to a nice, beautiful, soft dynamic. Let's see if I can put all those things together. Let's give it a try. To do on an open string, but if you can do this well on an open string, then when you go for a not open string, then you're gonna have some fun, right? So let's try it with I'll try it with a D. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the D with my 2 finger in on the G string, and let's do the same thing and see how vibrato can help us bloom a note as well. String just to check my tone and make sure everything's cool. Okay, so to recap, the objective here is to be able to bloom a note, to be able to grow it like this. That would be the sign language that I would use for it. The things to remember are sul ponticello, playing towards the bridge, or sul tasto, playing towards the fingerboard, and work on bow pressure, bow speed. Vibrato is another very useful thing for growing the for blooming a note. And if you're able to put all these things together, then you'll be able to get some really effective phrasings. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. See ya. Bye.